So it seems like 60% boards are like all you're hearing about right now, but outside of gaming, maybe that's not the best fit for you. TKL or Tenkeyless boards have always offered a nice middle ground between footprint and functionality. So today we're going to check out a trio of TKL boards from Cooler Master and see if they fit the bill. Ready? Let's go. Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching BadSeed Tech, and today we're taking a look at a three-piece of TKL mechanical keyboards from Cooler Master. For transparency, all the boards featured in today's video were sent out by Cooler Master for review, but as you should know by now, doesn't affect my review in any way. Kicking things off with the MK730, this is a premium offering priced at $119.99 US. This is the little brother to the MK750, which I loved and used for a long time and have reviewed on the channel. Check it out if you want to see me before the beard. It's awful. There's a lot to like here too. You get cherry MX switches, red in this case, but you can also get this board in blue and brown as well. USB-C connection with a nice braided cable. You get a handful of accent keys in Cooler Master purple that are double shot PBT. You get WASD, arrows, and an escape key, plus a key puller. The value dynamic has shifted a bit over the past few months, with most consumers now looking for all double shot PBT caps on premium keyboards. These unfortunately are all basic shine through ABS. One thing you don't get with a lot of TKL and 60s though is a wrist rest, but you'll get one here. This one's magnetic, pleather with a nice embossed logo and enough rubber pads on the bottom to keep slippage to a minimum. A few of my favorite features made the jump from the MK750 into this board, including the minimal frame, which is always a winner for me. It's lightweight but with no body flex, very solid. The USB-C connection is center mounted with cable channels to route it where you need. Cable is thick and braided, no pass-through, so not that thick. On the underside, you also get flip-down feet for one angle of adjustment, but I like the stock frame height on this one. The top plate here is a sandblasted aluminum and gunmetal, looks really sharp. Floating switch design here too, so no bezel. You also get accent lighting that runs around the sides of the frame. It's diffused perfectly with no visible hotspots. The only weak point here is that the front facade is glossy plastic, so get ready for some fingerprints. You can control virtually everything in terms of lighting directly on the board itself, but you can use software to really dial in more specific lighting setups and handle macros. And Cooler Master really does RGB well. Even if these might be flickering in the footage, they don't do this in real life. The overall lighting effect is soft and subtle. And there's a distinction there. It's not weak or underpowered. This is an intentional aesthetic choice. The light plays really well off the backplate. There's lots of different modes on offer and per key lighting, of course. If there's a low point on this board for me, it's gotta be the stabilizers. And they're not bad as far as commercial stabilizers go. They're better than a Corsair board by a wide margin. But once you experiment around a little bit and feel the difference that really solid stabilizers make on a keyboard, it's hard not to notice them on every board after. This is a tough one from a value standpoint. I really like this board. Even with the ABS keys, it has a lot of little subtleties that add up to a pretty impressive package. But at $120 in the TKL market, the competition is pretty stiff. They just write themselves. The Ducky 1.2 TKL at $125 is a pretty attractive option. It's got PBT keycap standard, but I'm not super crazy about the clunkier frame design on the Ducky, and you'll need to be pretty patient because the wait time for one of those right now is still about 30 days. If you go up to like 130, you can look at the Dravo Blade Master Pro, which while it does still have ABS keycaps, it's pretty much got the wireless keyboard game on lock right now. We're gonna be looking at it very soon. But overall, there's a lot to like here with the MK730. It just depends on what you prioritize out of a board. Now moving on to a more budget-minded offering, this is the CK530. Priced at just under $70, it retains the key factors of an entry-level mechanical board while eliminating a lot of the add-ons. Matter of fact, there's only one thing included in the box: a keycap puller. So no wrist rest, no extra keycaps, no detachable cable. That means you get an attached cable that's rubberized and center mounted. Build quality here still feels good though. Same floating keycap design, same minimal approach, but you get these little side wings like you see on the full-size version of this board. You still get cherry MX switches available in blue, red, and brown. Blue are on this board. I always forget how clicky blues are because I don't ever use them. You still get the brushed or blasted aluminum top, and you still get per key LED. Keycaps here are still ABS, which is pretty irrelevant if you plan on replacing them anyway, and a board at this price is a good candidate for that. Stabilizers here are average, good bit of play, little bit of noise. Again, you can handle all the per key RGB stuff on the board itself, which I always like. There is software too if you want to dig into the macros. If you didn't know better, the look and feel of this board would fool you into thinking it costs about $20 or $30 more easy. And that's a pretty important point that I want to address. Sure, you can go on Amazon and find budget keyboards that are cheaper than this, or that seemingly have the same specs on paper. One thing I can't convey in review videos is how a product feels in hand, a level of quality that's only tangible when you can actually touch it. There's a lot to be said for quality control and fit and finish. Cooler Master peripherals almost always hit the mark here for me, regardless of price point. And that statement brings us to our last board. This is the low-profile SK630. This board's available in a TKL and full size, as well as a new Bluetooth small form factor. The TKL we're looking at today is priced at $119.99. This board looks absolutely incredible on the desk. It's got per key RGB, that nice reflective aluminum top plate with a beveled edge, and this razor-thin RGB line that runs around the entire board. It's worth saying that this board has some of the nicest RGB animations I've seen on a board, period. Now, as a rule, I generally won't watch any other review videos on a product that I have in for review until mine is completely done and uploaded, so I don't have any influence there at all. But I did watch Dave Lee's video on this keyboard, so I'm aware that there are some concerns here that this board does not constitute a true low-profile keyboard. As this is the only low-profile keyboard or keyboard like this that I've ever reviewed, I can't really speak to that. But there were a couple areas where I struggled to connect with this board, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't totally off base. Let's start with the switches. And these are Cherry MX switches. These are low-profile reds, and I totally get that red is a linear switch. It's not tactile. I get it. But these switches feel like mush to me. There's not a lot of travel, and then obviously they bottom out. I type heavy-handed, so this is not an enjoyable typing experience for me. And the flat profile chiclet keycaps don't help this. Something feels off about the spacing between the keys as well. I've measured, and they seem to be the same spacing as a standard keyboard, but something here just feels off to me. I can't put my finger on it. I tried some OEM keycaps on this board. They actually are operational. I was afraid they bottom out before actuation, but they work. They help the typing comfort, but I'd like a little angle adjustment here, and by the time we've angled that board up and replaced it with an OEM profile, we've kind of lost the way on the whole low profile thing. These switches have a little bit of rotation to them too, so the square caps can look askew instead of uniform, and the ABS material shows oil really bad. You get this crinkly tinfoil thing every time you depress the spacebar, and it's one of those sounds that, like, once you notice it, you can't shake it. Lastly, the USB-C connector here doesn't really inspire confidence. I'm a big fan of Cooler Master peripherals. I generally feel like they don't get enough credit, but this low-profile outing, it's gonna be a no from me, dog. It's a solid concept, but it's gonna need some refinement before I can recommend it. Wrapping up here, the MK730 is my favorite of the bunch for sure. It's not without some competition, but there's just something about it. It may be confusing to see TKL boards priced above their full-size counterparts, but you have to remember that these are generally produced in smaller quantities, which generally means higher manufacturing costs. Lastly, and this is not specific to Cooler Master, but most of the big peripheral manufacturers we're familiar with, the past few months have seen a shift where smaller peripheral manufacturers are taking a bigger market share. This has brought some of the quality aspects of higher-end boards to the mainstream market, and that's going to prove to be a challenge for the bigger peripheral manufacturers. While we may have been okay before with average or even poor stabilizers or ABS keycaps, customers are getting more educated, the expectations getting higher, and the companies are going to be forced to raise the bar or risk starting to feel it in their wallets. Big thanks to Cooler Master for sending these out for review. As always, I will leave affiliate links in the description down below if you'd like to grab something for yourself. It really helps me out. And if you've made it this far, I really want to hear from you in the comments, or even better, drop by the Discord. What do you think about what's going on with the keyboard market right now? Have expectations changed for you personally? Are the bigger commercial brands that we're used to still on your radar right now? And for those wondering, I do have the absolutely loaded MK850 full-size board in-house. We're going to be taking a look at that board very soon. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up.